Today we are going to talk about saying no to people. Just no. Nein, no, noun, yet, no, nay. You get the picture. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, you know this was a long time coming. And the reason why I talk about it so much is because I know that learning to say no can change your life. So, let's find out how we can say it more often without guilt or awkwardness, shall we? Hi, my name is Sandy, and for decades, I was virtually unable to say no. Oh, Sandy, I need you to do that Sunday event so I don't have to. Is that okay? Absolutely. Whoa, I love your earrings, Sandy. Can I have them? Sure, here you go. Hey, Sandy, I kind of need one of your kidneys, maybe both of them because mine aren't working anymore. Okay, let me get a knife. Okay, maybe not that last one. Well, depending on who's asking, I guess. Anyway, what I mean to say is I did a lot of things over the years I did not want to do just because I didn't want to say no. Because I was a people pleaser. Still kind of am, but I'm working on that. Or because it made me feel bad saying no. But here's what I've learned once I've started saying no. I felt worse saying yes and doing things I didn't want to than saying no and having to deal with the guilt. And eventually, I stopped feeling guilty altogether. Another thing I quickly learned is how well people take no's if you're nice about it. In fact, most people prefer you to be honest and just say what you mean rather than saying yes and doing it against your will. And it makes sense. I mean, would you like it if someone came to your party, even if they didn't want to, just because they didn't want to refuse your invitation? I know I wouldn't. I want all the people who are there to want to be there, right? And the ones who don't want you to be honest and just want you to do what they want, well, sucks to be them, I guess. You know, the sad truth is we've been raised to think that saying no is a bad thing, that it's rude or aggressive or inconsiderate. Like, if you say no to that person, you're rejecting them, disappointing them, or hurting them in any way, and that makes you a bad person looking for conflict. You know, another reason why we often end up saying yes to things we don't really want to do or can't do is FOMO, fear of missing out. You're afraid that if you say no, you will miss the great business opportunity or that you won't be considered for that next promotion. Socially, you're afraid people will stop inviting you to things because you refused an invitation and you'll be out of the loop. Or that it will be such an awesome event that you'll regret missing it afterwards. But here's the thing, there's a reason why you don't want or can't do the things you're being asked. And whatever that reason is, respect it. This can go from having too much on your plate to just wanting to stay home and sleep. It doesn't matter. If there's a reason, it's valid. That in mind, here's how you can say no to people without feeling guilty. The most important part of saying no is being clear. Don't say maybe or I'll think about it if you know the real answer is no. If you think about it, it's about being respectful and not wasting people's time. On the other hand, we do know that sometimes people don't want to hear no for an answer and they'll just try to persuade you to give in. So being clear and assertive will go a long way with that. Another thing you can do to make sure people won't try to change your mind is offering no excuses, or at least not too many excuses. The more you say, the more people can counter-argue. Don't drag this out. Just say you have a previous commitment, whatever it may be, even if it's a commitment to yourself to stay in and rest, or that you've got too much on your plate to be able to say yes, regardless of what it is. The important part here is making it clear that you aren't able or interested in their proposal and that the answer is no. Is there any time when it's worth giving a bigger explanation? Yes, when you wanted to say yes but really can't. When you want people to know that it is not a matter of disinterest or neglect, you really can't say yes. Okay, but if what we're trying to do here is say no without hurting people's feelings, shouldn't we just explain that every time? Well, not really, because often saying no is also a matter of setting boundaries. Like, it's one thing when your best friend invites you for their birthday, but you're traveling or have an important thing for work and can't be there. Explaining you really wish you could attend, but you can't is a good move. Now, when your boss or a co-worker asks you to take on extra work when you already got your plate full, saying no, I already have too much to do, doesn't really merit any further explanation. Because in that instance, you are standing up for yourself, letting people know your limits, your boundaries, and that's actually a very healthy thing to do with your coworkers, with your boss, even your friends. Good fences make good neighbors, remember that. Explaining in detail what you have to do in the situation will only open the door for them to do it again in the near future when they think you're less busy, or to answer that you can do it anyway after you've finished. So just say no and be done with that. If you're uncomfortable with flat out saying no to your boss, for example, Another thing you can do is reply with another question, like asking, so if I were to add this to my projects, how many extra weeks would we add to my deadlines? Or would I be prioritizing this over my other assignments? And depending on their answer, decide if it's a yes or a no. Bottom line, even if you still say no, you'll have shown thoughtfulness. They'll get that you've considered saying yes, but ultimately realized it's just not possible. Now, one thing I hope you won't say no to is giving this video a thumbs up so that it can get shown to more and more people over time and help my channel grow. I would really appreciate it. Okay, next, I feel like we should go back to those people who don't want to hear a no and are willing to do anything to persuade you. And that can be anyone really, from the person on the street asking for a donation for any cause, your boss who wants you to take more on, or a family member who wants you to do something regardless of how you feel about that. The thing is, often manipulative people are experts at, well, manipulating. They know exactly how to push your buttons, how to put just enough pressure to get you to say a yes instead of a no. And I've come to realize that the best way to face it is to expect it. So if you're able to identify when someone is trying to manipulate you, it will make it that much easier to say no. If it's someone you know and that has manipulated you before, prepare yourself beforehand to proof yourself against their arguments and tactics. Identify that guilt and those strong emotions for what they are, manipulation, and don't let yourself get reeled in. Because ultimately, if you give in, it will be that much harder to say no to that person again because they know they can crack you. It's like dealing with children really. If they ask you something and you say no, and they ask again and again, and you give in once, just once, they will do it every single time and for as long as it takes for you to give in. If you're consistent about it and never give in, eventually they'll stop pushing because they know you never change your mind anyway. So, don't back down, be consistent. Think of how awful it will get if you give in. In fact, that should be your motivation every time you say no. Imagine how you'll feel if you give in and end up doing something you don't want to do or that you don't have the time or the energy to do. You know, there is nothing wrong with putting yourself first. The people that call you selfish because you say no are just trying to manipulate you. Because truly, there is nothing wrong about thinking of yourself and being a little bit selfish when people want you to do something you don't want to do. You know, why on earth should you put their needs and their interests above your own? You know, if you think about it, it doesn't make sense really. Doing something you don't feel like doing for whatever reason isn't being generous. Being generous is wanting to do it. If you don't, you are cheating yourself and them. Honestly, people shouldn't want you to do things you don't want to do. You know, who's being selfish now? Even so, I have to admit that learning to say no was probably one of the hardest things I ever did. What really helped me to do it was to practice saying no. Now, I know it may sound childish or ineffective, but it really does help. So, get your family and friends to ask you all sorts of favors and just answer no. This will help you get used to saying that word more naturally, to remove that negative charge society has placed on it and make it a bit of a game really. Over time, practicing saying no, even if it's in front of a mirror, will help you accept it as a normal, natural, honest answer. Just give it a try and let me know how it worked. In fact, you can leave me a comment below telling me all about it or anything you'd like to add to the subject really. Let's start an awesome conversation about it. I would love that. You know, getting used to say no to people is just one of the simplest habits that can change your life. And in this video over here, I share 14 others you can incorporate in your life and most will take you less than a minute to complete. Also, in this video right here, I talk about 15 things I wish I'd known when I was in my 20s that would have made my life so much easier. And yes, saying no is one of them. So just check them out and see if you agree. And I will see you for our next video. Bye bye!